This is part two for the Voices of California, year four at the Sacramento Poetry Center. This is night one of a 2-day event for 2023. As you may have heard earlier in the last section of this event, we took a break to have some elote, Kevin Magical Galindo's tejuino, and donuts and various other snacks. People are about to come back in about, I think, 3 minutes or so. So just enjoy the back view. Mhm.
I take him into Oakland. That's where he went. There you go. Shit. That's no, I took him to the real places. He's like, hey, mom, she didn't take him to because I didn't take him to because he be writing poems about you right now. I'm playing. I'm showing love. I feel like we're getting to see You want to know something? You want to know something? He has so much water. And it's funny because I was raised so strict, so religious, that I would the exact opposite of him. Yeah. And he'll say, I want you more strict. That's how they go. That's how well, you messed me up. You weren't strict with me. You'll never win as a parent. But, either you're too strict or you're too loose. You should have raised me like granddaddy. Oh, you'll be a whole lot smarter. Exactly. Will I be smarter? By the time he gets to his 30s, yeah, he'll be going, oh. That's how it is. It's just a natural, man. I mean, we all go through that. It's like, it's really funny how the older I get, the smarter my parents. Yeah. Experience is the best teacher. I swear, when he was a teenager, 16 or so, I remember standing there like that. So I'm not a religious person, but I said, Mom, I was crying. I said, Mom and Dad, I'm so sorry. Because I was 4 I climbed out the windows, I climbed out of the second floor. Right. You're like, let's go. Streets talking. What? Dad. That's all sorts of stuff. We're more like, friends. So I understand it. You have that opportunity. And, the household isn't like a household full of, that kind of hate and trauma. You start to realize, like, you know what? It wasn't the worst. They didn't know any better either. It's like that people before them didn't know. But then you start to notice, like, little cracks in those generational curses, right? At least with my parents. Not everybody has that situation. Right? I know that. Yeah, that's just very big into the So I got barbecue was like, I know you did. I was moving especially, well, I don't know. Honestly, it's gonna be a special. Cool. Right. Yes. Is there everybody back inside yet? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I guess everyone's back inside. I'm not gonna talk in the mic, because I don't know how to move that thing around and stuff. So I'm loud. I'll try to be loud anyway. What's the matter? Oh, okay. Oh yeah. All right. So as I mentioned before we went on a break, that the first two readers that are next is Nicola Garcia and Hector's son Hector. So what I'm doing, and actually, I got this idea you told me to experiment with. I actually saw this happen already at the Altadena Library last year. There was one reading that I helped live stream for that event, and for that particular reading, Peter Harris and a couple other readers, I can't remember who the readers are, all did this like each one poet reads a poem, then the next poet comes to read a poem, then that other poet comes to read one poem, and then so on and so on and so on. And then I saw this like similar thing happen again recently at Beyond Baroque at a reading that Hector was involved in with Minerva Reynosa and I always forget that other guy's name. Ramon Garcia. Thank you so much, Amy. Yeah. So now that everyone is gathering in, what I'm gonna do real fast here is introduce both authors and read their bios. All right, as I mentioned, Nikolai Garcia. He grew up in South Central Los Angeles, works in East Hollywood, drinks in downtown LA, and has been sleeping in Compton for 15 plus years. His poems have been published in Huarache, Cultural Daily, Satigo Review, Razor Cape, the Latino Book Review, and various other journals and anthologies. His first chapbook, Nuclear Shadows of Palm Trees, was released by Distill Arts in 2019. He is co-host of Church School of Poets, a reading series in Long Beach, and also, by the way, I actually love that series a lot. That I decided to do like a spin-off called Church School of Prose. So I've been like a few of those now. I'm also at the same venue in Long Beach, so where I'm like bringing more prose authors to like read and whatnot. Oh yeah, what the.
LA Times.
Oh yeah, and we were mentioned, and then Pages Machine and the series mentioned it. LA Times, Nikolai, Mauricio, and I were just name dropped there, and I was like very like I was shocked. Because I haven't before, but for being in the playground, but for reading, that's pretty fucking cool, I think, right? Yeah.
10 places to see like poetry in LA.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Next author is Hector, son of Hector, lives in Oakland, California. He is a child of Mexican immigrants, currently works in a hospital, dreams of short stories, and writes poetry in secret. So please welcome Nikolai and Hector.
Before the hills of San Francisco, I stand on a mission hospital rooftop watching smog centipede its way through the Los Angeles skyline, creeping at the feet of buildings and mountains. At 1 mile high, I see the luminescent waters of Mexica streets. Down in the Tenochtitlan, the up-and-coming neighborhood. The rich once lived here, flattened it, or repurposed it, salted it. The capitalists now want it back. Everywhere, this film breathes every day, rewinding and playing a continuous loop. Conquest of barrios is nothing new. The land of the natives has always been better. Ask the priests about their missions. Ask the barber where Oakland gets its hair done. Ask why the locals haven't left yet. They say the East Bay gets more sun. East LA's got better food. Colonia Juarez has tortillerias fitting masa for the masses. Or is that a printing press? Food always tasted better on abuela's mesa. Mijo, come tortilla pa que te llenes. Ponle crema y sal, o sal y limón. Por lo menos sal.
I don't smoke weed, I smoke palm trees. I rise in the clouds like a 110, 105 interchange. I take back airspace from an LAPD chopper, examining freeways, concrete ribbons anchoring our smog and beaches to the West Coast. Each night, I dream about Wanda Coleman. She tells me, one day I'll be as big as the Watchtowers. She says, point your finger in any direction. Eventually, you'll hit a freeway. Her laugh, a roar. I marvel at how Manchester Avenue creeps into Firestone Boulevard. I promise myself, when the freeways begin to crumble and the city drifts into the Pacific, I will stand watch. When the final palm tree goes up in flames, Wanda Coleman's roar will be the last thing I want to hear.
One, her father's mother brings him here, tears him from his pueblo in Michoacán. South LA raises him, teaches him English, introduces him to a Guatemalan woman. Their daughter becomes my wife. When I meet him, his breath smells of the smoke he inhaled during the fires, the burning building of his business. Two, she's got the eyes and cheekbones of Olmec stoneheads, daughter of Purepecha and Mayan kingdoms, lips like early morning flower petals, hands which never lose their warmth, skin that catches color from the sun. She lived her childhood between rows of cared-for lawns on single-family homes and blocks of dilapidated Section 8 apartments. Near the fires and gunshots, liquor stores and churches, the neighborhood never hers. Her speech was borrowed from migration patterns of the city, Nueva España settlers, ocho mulatos y nueve indios, Black Southerners, white Midwesterners, ESL Chicanos, and Central Americans, their mano de obra oscillating through time. Three, she never reads Pynchon or Wanda Coleman to feel the riot. She just listens and watches housing prices rise, waiting for the fall.
So what if I miss you? If I light a red candle and invoke your image and its flame? So what if I think about you on a cold autumn night and 3 minutes later your texts warm up my phone? Who is going to care that knowing your thoughts brings me joy, that I whisper your name to no one and the moon? To whom does it matter that my favorite color is blue and your touch ignites a season of summer inside me? There's going to be 1,000 nights without you. There's going to be an empty bed. I crave your attention, but not your shadow. I'll write another poem. I do not reply to your texts.
Seen Oakland bleed. After two broken car windows, multiple hit and runs, one vehicle totaled, one home invasion, multiple verbal assaults, witness to violence against others, I tell you of this city no one loves. Leaders vomit the letters of its name. Its paramours leave their moldy mattresses on corners. When it raises its hand, you pretend you deserve it, singing praises to its beasts. Carefully, with the tips of your fingers, you pick a glass shard from the back seat, cheek it like a pill you contemplate spitting. The blood from your gums reveals a gingivitis rotting your teeth. Fruit from the forgotten city rolls to your feet, full of sugar, bruised and bitten by birds before ripening to its full potential. This city bleeds in the shadow of its past. Occupy, the last refuge of radical America. Ansaldo and Moraga bridged it here. Huey and Seal stood on branches of oaks. Chevrolets at Abisma. Kaiser shipyards turned permanente. SF transplants since the great earthquake. Rancho San Antonio depleted through litigation. Squatters' paradise since the gold rush. Briefly Mexico. Previously Spanish land grant. Always sacred land of the Ohlone people. This story is a high definition photo when all you see is grayscale. Through the wide lens panorama of post Great Recession economics, you flip through its pages searching for hope, follow its branches to find elongated hieroglyphics of the sun, concrete beasts growing in place of trees, encircled by tents like fallen fruit, empty of green leaves and living worms, stagnant like the waters of its lake. And after two broken car windows, I tell you of the city no one loves.
I spend most days atop a nopal, devouring a snake. Sometimes I substitute the snake for a pupusa, and sometimes with Korean barbecue. Sometimes I substitute the nopal for a train. My view extends, and I can see the Queen Mary sleeping. Sometimes I substitute the train for a bus. Some days the bus is lonely, except for empty beer bottles and the smell of poetry. But some days the bus is packed and I'm squeezed in with 5 people in the back row where we all fall asleep and all have the same dream of owning a Prius. Sometimes I'm on the 110, the harbor freeway with no harbor in sight. Just a million cars running a gauntlet of giant palm trees while Felix the cat looks on. Sometimes Florence doesn't intersect with Normandy, and I can hear flowers laughing in the park. Sometimes the smog is so thick you can't see 3 inches in front of you, and the smog hides police murders and
She enters a sliding door of the metro train, sings a commercial in her low-pitched voice. The finest chocolate, a box full of crunch bars, shiny in her dark brown hands at 10 pesos each, nearly 50 American cents. But I tell her I just had a meal. Mediocre Japanese food, quite pricey at 500 pesos, lackluster experience and flavor. She proceeds to offer me a plastic whistle, plays a familiar cumbia I cannot name. I apologize and explain that I don't have change. When I took out 3,000 pesos at the ATM, it only gave me 6 bills of 500 pesos. She begins to sing and dance. presses her hair against my face. I reluctantly smell the sweaty smog of the day. She proceeds to take off her shoes, offers the red chip nail polish from her toes. Para la dama, she says, at a low, low price. I lie to her that I'm single, untied and flexible with my love. She rips the skin from her neck down to her chest, rolls what she tears like an ancient scroll as if to insert in a tube container for art, advertises it as tasty, seasoned with the salts of the streets, soaked in the brine of filthy men who stare. Black blood drips down her torso. She notices the door is open, grabs her merchandise, and leaves.
Even the drunks going on 6 days straight without a shower and the crack addicts going 6 hours straight without a hit are on their best behavior. I just want my coffee. Men dressed in wrinkles and white hair, freshly cashed SSI checks, flash bills around like rich bankers. I just want my bacon and egg sandwich. Middle aged white men who have always noticed the accent of the city but never spoke a word of Spanish in their lives trip over their tongues saying hola and buenos dias. I just want my second cup of coffee. Their shiny words slip off her apron, and none of the compliments make it to her ears as she rushes back and forth from the kitchen, balancing plates of pancakes, eggs, sausages, and hash browns. But still they try, these men of Skid Row, whom I believe given up on life and therefore love. But with every chance they get, they try to look in her eyes. I just want my exact change and her phone number.
August 2020, illegal and essential. Thank nurses for free Michelin star meals. Give grocery store workers hazard pay. Leave notes on windows for deliveries. But how to thank the Idaho dairy farms? Those on the Bakersfield clementine groves, those calloused brown hands that pluck strawberries. Their flesh breaks on the teeth of the rich. Red stains on America's enamel. A harvest that has always been essential. Their wages keep food on U.S. tables. The foot of deportation on their backs helps transform farm worker blood into coin. Crop duster bandana covered voices. They say everyone tested positive. Something fell from me, like a tree losing branches during storms. Cracked, jagged edges remained open. Firewood touched my feet. I move my head into the oldest roots, constantly absorbed, cradled in shade. I cry over falls shed, struggle just to climb, philosophize lost parts, doubt each new dream, survive in soil beneath leaves of grass, out of reach like stars above. Either I decompose or extend myself in search of water and nutrition. So I try to grow toward the sun, to break the line, only to learn that I am a weed in a field of marigolds and magnolias.
It's the sound you hear when you turn off your TV. It's the sound that old men make at night as they sleep on the sidewalk outside empty loft buildings. It's the sound of air escaping your mouth after you get the notice that your rent is increasing. It's that same sound you heard when you tore that ticket for jaywalking. It's the sound of your head getting slammed on a police cruiser. It's the sound you hear when the power company shuts off your electricity after a hard day of working. It's the flash on a camera phone when a Latina border agent takes a selfie. It's that ringing in your ear when someone tells you to go back to your country. It's the click from a key as toddlers are locked in cages. It's the exact same sound you hear in your head when you look around and realize it doesn't have to be this way.
Again, I cannot unfold my parents' the mosaic they have misinterpreted, their denied narratives, forgotten, those layers lost, reimagined, revolutionary, and naive. Nor can I extract the flavor, fragrant, blended, unequal, unrecognized, between, waiting, living, feeling perdido en casi borrado.
In the backyard, marijuana plants sprout like alien life forms escaping the earth. Tiny yellow light bulbs on the lemon tree announce it's time for tacos. At every cafe, the poets are writing about jacarandas again. It must be spring. Peacocks are roaming free in Arcadia, loudly in color and sound, announcing that it's spring. The squirrels from MacArthur Park that scurry down for leftovers think it's spring. Even the downtown rats running from trash bin to trash bin on Spring Street say that indeed it is spring. The cute barista on Main Street that never goes to the movies with me hands me my coffee and says it's spring. Two drunks in an alley raise up from a whiskey slumber like blooming flowers to announce it's spring. My ex, coming out of nowhere from a 6 month hibernation, sends me this text, a roll of flower emojis, and the words in all caps, it's spring. A chola on a pink beach cruiser. She stares back at me, and her switchblade eyebrows say it's spring. At the bar, a bartender's bluebird tattoo flies off their arm to sing about spring. When I get home, I pull my chest apart to look at my heart, but it doesn't say anything.
For Andres Montoya and all the other Chicano poets that I never got to read, the ice worker arrives. With the pick still in his hand, thick fingers covering the wooden handle, the ice worker arrives, frozen in a cube of petrified water, his eyes looking up, his lips mid-sentence. A Chicana physician from Modesto puts her stethoscope to the ice. She hears a heartbeat, slow, rhythmic, and pleasant. He was found behind shelves of ignored books at the local library, underneath the air conditioner. A young brown girl spotted his warm, open eyes while she curiously peered through the silenced poems. No one ever told me about these when I was in school, she kept saying to the medics when they approached the ice worker. IVs and defibrillators and monitors are useless. This man needs power sockets to plug in space heaters. We turn the thermostat on high and one pitcher at a time dump boiling water over the perfectly clear cube of ice. We work diligently for hours, our clothes soaked and feet cold, our shoes making that squishy sound, splattering melted ice on all the equipment meant for the dying trauma patients. The cube full of craters and cracks still looks as immense as when it first arrived, when we suddenly hear a ding that stops us. We note the ice worker is within a glass box, frozen still, and through the stethoscope, we can no longer hear his heart, just the echoes of all the songs he sung.
Okay, this is the last poem. It's called Every Other Open Mic.
Which this is not, by the way. Yeah.
Here's a poem I just wrote today. Here's a poem I wrote on the bus. Here's a poem I wrote while sitting in traffic. Here's a poem about my cats. I don't believe in sharing my work. I just wrote, but here's something I just finished. I was inspired by the creativity of the room. I was inspired by the moon. I was inspired by the way my dog looked at me. I was inspired by all the free wine I just drank. Here's a poem that's just really a rant. Here's a poem where I just yell for effect. Here's a political poem that preaches to the choir. Here's a haiku about childbirth, followed by a sonnet about my pet tarantula. Do I have time for 10 more poems? Do I have time to grab my ukulele? Do I have time to read this essay for context? Do I have time to read this journal entry just because? Oh, can I start over?
Thank you, gentlemen. Reason number 950, all the people who have spoken today, why poetry really is oral pursuit, right? 10 out of 10 on the page, 15 out of 10 when they read them out loud. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Jose Vadi. Jose is the author of Interstate, Essays from California, and Chipped, a forthcoming nonfiction collection on skateboarding. Check him out on social media. I assume this is Twitter, at Vadi Party. That's VADI Party, or JoseVadi.com. How about a round of applause for Jose?
We give it up once again for everyone that made the show possible. This is insane. Often that you get like true California reading, like a true California reading. You know what I mean? Like every part of the state seems to be represented. I'm originally from Pomona. I spent half my life there and half my life in the East Bay in Oakland, and now the past 2 years here in Sacramento. This is my first time reading in my new city. Thank you.
Second time won't be far away.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read a couple poems, and then I'll read a couple. I'll read an essay. Yeah. And I haven't read these poems to humans before, just cats. So here we go. There is a sundial at the Berkeley Pier. Asking God for the time, returned Rolex with tags on instead. Too loud, she says, and I can relate. Sleeping inside a grandfather's clock, submerged in half the financial district, 4K monthly, bathroom included, wall to wall for the job to IPO margin walkers. Forehead scaled, overhead so feared, necks craned to cranes in the sky, tent cities sunken, illuminated just the same. That one guy, you remember, they'll say at the gates, 1848 years from infinity, and I still couldn't find parking. Walked the traffic to find pearls, measured, illuminated, prophesized just the same. Ceilings. The opacity of the ceiling chaps my fingertips, cursors bend, nail into molded ergo palms. Cryogenic my posture feels in this precursor to automated everything. We are the user experience engendered from boardroom to elevator to catered buffet to 401k workshop. The ceiling's ventilation was acquired after the third tech boom, inherited from wartime computerization, DoD contracts, post-war plans for GI class. This motherboard has a licensed Jim Crow affiliate in Pleasanton and antebellum offshore accounts in Argentina. We have been the industry driven by data for years now. It's handheld to our optimized touch. The ceiling is in my back pocket, the tip of my nose. It smells like 200-year-old insulation, like my next breath. I should mention these poems were published by Small Press Traffic. So shout out to them and their ongoing archive. The SBT archive is pretty sick. So shout out to them. Meter. Seen souls fly from subsidized cafeteria to cross-team conference. Calls muted, voices better suited for suits over faux casual fatigues. This is the end of the line of the freeways turned metros, that eminent domain, the kids we projected initial crushes upon. Deadbolt golden locks at metros end, hang framed labor tax man to activist, claim makes struggle necessary. Click informed every employer from silicon to telecom upon digital application. Yes, Hispanic Latino. No, not a veteran of assigned wars. No, no illnesses metamorphosized into our less points of sky, tightening chest cavities away this other half of my heart. Yes, no, no, check, yes, no, no. Every morning, slow hands scream, clock in, apply, someone else's time. All right, so I wrote a book of essays about California called Interstate. I'm going to read from an essay called Getting the Susies. It was this very lush Monday after work activity that I used to do where basically like right after work, basically what you need to know for this essay is context. Is like right after work, I would bolt at 5 p.m., have a coffee and maybe a joint or two, and then go to a bar. And that's all you need to know for the beginning of this essay. All right, getting to Susie's. Susie stares at me when I walk into her bar atop Mason Street. I smile and nod, lifting the brim of my black corduroy hat that says rare in Japanese so she can recognize me. I'd ask your name, but I'd probably forget it, she says, pouring my Stella into a chill glass. But I won't forget your face. You're always so sweet playing music on the jukebox. I wonder how many locals like me Susie's dealt with since her arrival from South Korea in the 1980s. She got in the scene and quickly became a co-owner of Janelle's Cocktail Lounge on Ellis and Jones, still around today with its U-shaped bar intact, and the long-defunct Sebastian's on Sutter and Jones where Susie met her husband, a local. The Tenderloin is both a time capsule and live feed of intergenerational neglect, but Susie's bar is close enough to Nob Hill that the grime is out of sight, blocks away at the bottom of the incline. I always ask if I can play the jukebox and do so again for tonight's set. Susie says yes, controlling the digital jukebox volume with a universal remote control that probably also controls the TVs that are always turned off at either end of her railroad bar. 3 pinball machines clutter the sometimes dance floor at this hour, a constellation of black tables and chairs on wheels that are barely able to roll across a thin layer of carpet. All of this is the culmination of my patterned Mondays, a weekly ritual of an after-work coffee, 2 joints, as many cocktails, and at least $25 on a jukebox in a dive bar where at 6 p.m., I'm the first customer to have the whole vomit-stained carpeted place to myself. Over the course of these Mondays, I've witnessed Susie cradle the heads of regulars who arrive at the bar sobbing in the wake of a parent's death. I witnessed her enforce the sign above her bar that states her right to refuse service to anyone, tossing those who disrespect the bar or its clientele. Amid the darkness, the cash-only policy, the somewhat off the beaten uphill path location, and Susie's welcoming but iron-fisted reputation, I start selecting the night's first few songs in the jukebox, rushing to get a big batch in just in case someone comes in wishing to do the same. I play songs that make Chicanos, old-timers, hip-hop beat purists, ex-cons who ride on Central Valley Amtrak trains, skateboarders, and me feel at home. These are the sounds that blare from cars and amphitheaters during my mother's time in Los Angeles, and that are probably blaring out of the cars that sometimes crowd 24th and Mission on Friday nights, the lowrider shows drowning out the drone of gentrified Bernal Heights. These songs are for the Chicanos who've spawned across the Central Valley through all of California, Arizona, and Nevada, and still tune in to listen to the ritual of the Art Laboe Connection 6 nights a week, a show on air long enough to reflect the 1950s sound that started it. My mothers and my generation both cried to these songs with our hands on wheels, steering across Interstate 10 as we sang along, a baton and song passed between generations on the same highways. Tonight's set begins with Young Colt Unlimited's instrumental piano solo classic Soulful Struts, a perfect segue to my current obsession, Crystal Blue Persuasion by Tommy James and the Shondells of Crimson and Closer fame, followed by some more summer love vibes via El Chicanos, Tell Her She's Lovely, and a deeper dive into some dance floor heaters, Brenton Woods, Give Me Some Kind of Sign, Junior Walker and the All-Stars, Shotgun, and the Supremes' entire discography, Chase with the Spinners' I'll Be Around, which brings the fictional dance hall in this dark, vacant bar back to a measured couple pace, allowing me to then bring in the funk and party tracks, Yarborough and the People's Don't Stop the Music, and Raw Band's Messages from the Stars, following both up by Higher Ground from the god himself, Stevie Wonder, and quickly cruising across LA County's freeways late at night, blasting lowrider classics I'm Your Puppet and Angel Baby, when I sneak a fake request line dedication to myself quietly during the opening notes of Wars, Don't Let Nobody Get You Down, a track dedicated so frequently on the Art Laboe Connection that the legendary DJ consolidates the request according to the names of each detention center. Corcoran, Wasco, Folsom, Chino. And next, play a trilogy of songs skaters raised on classic underground VHS skate videos can recognize. BT Express, Do It Till You're Satisfied, More War, Magic Mountain, and Samande's Brothers on the Slide, before playing Susie's favorite, Oakland Zone, Towers of Power, You're Still a Young Man, and adding another round and more tracks to tonight's agenda. Susie asked, do you want it louder? A few tracks in, I say yes, needing to hear the bass that makes Zapp and Rogers more bounce to the ounce, that much more amazing. I can only do this on Monday. Tuesdays, bartender front loads the jukebox with long, predictable indie rock songs that pass the time but fail to tell the night's story, fail to reflect the mood, his, the city's, and instead use sonic filler to leave us, the bar's clientele, subject to the banality of 8-minute art pieces by formulaic jam rock bands. Meanwhile, I sulk with a grin on these Tuesdays and other off nights, devoid of the sonic control Susie provides me on Mondays, and of the fleeting satisfaction of having crossed a whole city trying to control something, anything, amid this untamable metropolis. On my third or fourth round of Jameson, Susie walks over to my table. She extends her hand with an avocado in her palm, says, take one home. I thank her, placing it on my hat, resting it on the table with my drink, and think of the way my grandfather would pronounce aguacate. Sonny Osuna's Smile Now, Cry Later plays as loudly as those first sung notes were originally intended. Nobody here knows how good Sonny Osuna sounds outside on a sunny day at Echo Park, or somewhere in a park in Santana in 1991 celebrating my uncle's 60th, when I first saw my cousin's brown bag and bruise and realized there were more places to chill beer than books in some homes. And then, staring at the avocado, I think of my California girlfriend, how she'll be thrilled, and of Susie's generation and the Tenderloin in the 80s, from whom the city offered labor and community and the opportunity to shape both on their own terms. Some nights I measure the coincidence of full-time employment, the impulse to destroy myself, and the desire to escape by the numbers of songs, hours, and drinks I allow myself to consume, wondering if the regulars see another amateur Bukowski, a Vonnegut worshiper in progress, ready to drop back into a routine of permitted cheat days and getting a run-in on the way to BART on a few lapped miles around South Park to crystallize my new big tech idea turned app turned TED Talk. They forget that every physical body in this city they forget that every physical body in this city is as haunted a house as these flipped Victorians and displaced SROs. This ritual of drinks and tunes, a type of oral connective tissue to the laps and daps and thousands of miles away of 6 feet under now, worrying how quickly such weekly sonic patterns can turn into addictions, into liquor, into jukeboxes that aren't mine, on stolen land that the Central Valley growers living in Nob Hill have owned since the years my grandfather was still picking fields for an under-the-table existence. Maybe it's a partial reclamation of space just as much as Susie's name on the deed or the bar's glowing sign. Its decaying white to yellow grin welcoming mine just the same from the corner outside. Really, this ritual ends with the need to head home, to the East Bay, back to Oakland, a city that calls itself the town. There, Lake Merritt turns into a protest every Sunday, conga drums and brown and black people alike amplifying the soul of songs threatened in the wake of newly arrived gentry's noise complaints. Another reason to put on just 3 more songs tonight, I tell myself, in the Ice Cube's reflection, that much more of the songs, the voices that raised us occupying the city skies. This real life of cityscapes and sidewalks can engage, ignore, or destroy you at a moment's notice. Monthly checks keep roofs over our heads, this tithe we all pay to sleep close to our ghosts, these memories of friends and places and co-conspirators who once lived here with me at the end of one of the city's small nooks and cross streets. On Mondays, these ghosts appear, ready now to buy me coping mechanisms in 40-ounce doses after quitting an hourly job registering rich kids for private swim classes off the one California Muni. It's for these ghosts, of fellow metropolitans long since gone, that I choose Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze as the last song of this set. His same kiss to the sky made tonight by me and my ghosts, those spirits expelled into this night from my lungs, into the sky we all once inhaled.
The KQED out of the Bay Area covered the Interstate essay collection, and the headline was Jose Vadi Plums California Soul and Interstate. I think we all can agree with that after hearing him speak. Wow. Thank you. pumped up to bring up my colleague, great friend Jeremy Dwayne Green, aka G Mile, is a nationally certified school psychologist as well as a poet/hip hop artist. Going on his 11th year in the education field, he's currently working for the Natomas Unified School District, NP3, which is the K-12 school, and consults as a licensed educational psychologist, LEP. Although in the Sacramento region, his familial roots remain firmly planted in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A lyricist by nature and a Sagittarius, he enjoys gathering and sharing the stories he has heard along these winding roads. These stories also include his time living and working as a school psychologist in Shanghai, China from 2017 to 2019. Round of applause, please, for Mr. Jeremy Green.
A lot of things. Good Lord. Growing up, I was always told I was kind of intense and overwhelming, but in hindsight, that was just people that were trying to discriminate on this beautiful chocolate skin I got. So now that I'm comfortable in that beautiful chocolate skin, we're gonna be intense and overwhelming together. So I gotta say I appreciate this space. I appreciate every one of the writers and writers that are about to go up. Y'all are powerful individuals, powerful beings. I feel like I've been plugging this for the last 3 years, but COVID-19 was tough. Everything that happened in terms of Black Lives Matter, in terms of George Floyd and everybody we've lost along the way in the past, present, and sadly in the future, that shit was tough. So the fact that we're here today, the fact that we're sharing community, that's something to celebrate. There's a lot of negativity out there in the world. We know that, right? And we have to own that. But at the same time, we have to, go ahead and do what you need to do. I got a powerful voice today. We got to always appreciate the fact that we're able to be together as one. So thank you all so much for having us today. You guys don't plug that laptop in. That's what you're doing. See, there's a little bit of that ADHD like the cake I got. I see what's going on. So we're gonna be real quick. We're going to knock it out 4 times. In terms of these poetic, methods, and then tomorrow we're going to try to share some more in Thomas, representing, beautiful space in terms of the Thomas, South Side, and Thomas, and so forth. It's funny how our paths diverged. You always said you hated small towns. Reminds me of hard times you once mentioned while reflecting on your childhood. Chicago was just around the corner back then, and you would often jump at any chance to taste what it was like to be a global citizen. You spent your whole life trying to escape small towns, only to find yourself once again within their unsavory confines. No longer a small town girl, but now a small town woman living with an old time guy who fades the image of Chicago from your eyes. I guess it's more safe and secure in those small towns with them old time guys. You see, I never found small towns, no old time guys safe as a man of indigenous pigment. And oddly enough, I find myself in this vast city, remembering my time back in Shanghai, feeling more safe there, even though I was less secure. However, though we may diverge from one another right now, I can still imagine and see that Chicago skyline in your eyes. All I ask you to do now is just dare to dream, Clementine, please dare to dream, because after all, we are always going to be big city lovers. Thank you. And that was the poem actually that got published by, Literary Shanghai back in the day. So I appreciate them folks out there, the lovely humans of Shanghai. About, those former loves. I write a lot about love and, other things related to, my racial, identity and so forth in these days and times. So appreciate y'all letting me share that one time. This is another one. Full lips, which taste violence with every expression, narrate how sometimes there is nothing poetic about justice. Lips that fall silent in lieu of donations would uniquely shape this wound's allure. We stay as silence in motion, as silence in unison with how everyone, and even their mama, is an image not accurate on these cracked screens and cracked roads. No amount of this filtration through blue light glasses can challenge the false images that we often display. In an era where motorcades still in biological weapons that can turn our lives from matter into particles with just the slip of a poisonous tongue, an egocentric tongue, often indicted multiple times because he's guilty sort of tongue. You know what I'm alluding to and who I'm alluding to. I say wandering into the distance of your memory's eye. Sad. All I'm saying is we could dematerialize in a matter of light seconds with all the negative energy that exists around us. So all I'm saying is, why don't we just spend the time in conversation, embracing lip to lip like the ideologies that we now embrace and allow these fires to finally reign free. It's a weird time we're living in, man, when people can be like multiply indicted and like still can possibly be winning an election. It's like this is like some Twilight Zone. I don't mean to get political. I feel like I'm in a safe space I can be brave, but it's some wild times right now. So that's kind of what that was alluding to and trying to live for the moment. So here's another one. We didn't ask to be here. You know, one of the things as a school psychologist I often think about as a, working with young folks, none of them asked to be here. We didn't ask to be here. In some cosmic universal, whether you believe in religion, probability, spirituality, or whatever, somehow, some way we came into existence in this moment in time. So a lot of blessing for, us black folk in this moment in time, when we think of our ancestors, but a lot of pain still, a lot of that generational trauma that still exists today. So this poem is really about trying to make sense of it all and really remembering like, shit, we didn't ask to be here at all, but we're going to make the best of the moment. We didn't ask to be here, asked to be at war, asked to be ignored, asked to be denied our right to be treated, right? We didn't ask to be here. We didn't ask to see parents separated, childhood, joy desecrated, all of the idols and false prophets evaporating under sudden storms as if limestone. We didn't ask to be here. Here in this mess, here in this filth, here in all of the emotions that causes us to attack each other in a world that's often colored by the beige. We didn't ask to be here. And yet, here I stand. Here I remain. Here I imagine the sanctity of love in a world we often feel that we're caged within. I say to you who ignores conversations regardless of the modality of the delivery that centers between what we divide, it requires more than just our time, it requires our flesh. It requires our whole essence. It requires our whole persona. It requires us to feel what we feel and allow it to free us in euphoria. We need to exist within the real. We need to exist within the idea that none of us know what tomorrow brings. Once again, none of us to know what tomorrow brings. Even that said tomorrow would exist in seconds in the lines of this future away. Thus, I want us to allow ourselves to embrace ideals grander than what is falsely designed by the socially constructed. I want us to allow ourselves to grace again ourselves in this constellation as we track worlds that we often have tried to deny because they try to tell us that we were blind, as discriminatory as that neurodivergence they try to judge us by. We didn't ask to be here, but we sure will enjoy the times when we do often collide. Thank you. So this is my last one. I'll be reading tomorrow, so that'd be cool to be back in the Thomas and trying to represent my time. The students and families I work with, it's a funny thing with schools, right? School districts. There's a reason why you hear on the news people trying to get on school boards, right? Because they're trying to, consolidate power and trying to control the narrative and trying to reduce the progress that we've made. As little progress as has been in the 50s, 60s, 70s years, they can erase it overnight with just an election, as simple as a board election. So I say all of that representing those families I work with in the Thomas Unified and beyond, from Shanghai to the Shy, Chicago, and so forth. We need to make a change. And so every time I stand on these stages, I appreciate, the times that those families, those students, and the colleagues, like my wonderful friend back there, have allowed me to be me and to, learn and grow from their narratives and so forth. So this poem right here, this is just about a story when I was in Shanghai. So, I said I like to imagine a little political. You're drinking your third sidecar of the night. Sidecars are good. Why is she drinking a third one? But it's all good. You're drinking your third sidecar of the night. I'm rubbing my eyes raw. You tell me there's something in my eyes, and I tell you, yes, there is something in my eyes. You tell me it's just a dream material. I think it's maybe your cigarette smoke. Still, all I see is you on this rooftop bar on the 92nd floor of a high-end hotel on the Bund in Shanghai. The waters and numerous people become fault lines from this high up. All I see is you swaying to the wind, humming like the flag affixed atop this rooftop bar. Both you and this flag are the pride of your country. All I see is you. And the moon does seem a little jealous of that pearl tower on the bun. This is a beautiful structure in Shanghai, so if you can get to China, please, Shanghai, China, because it's beautiful. So the pearl tower, the lights wait behind a clouded curtain, waiting for the man-made illumination to dim over a city in the midst of electric intercourse. Your dress is condensation, ripping and moving across your figure. I smell your Burberry perfume, feel your jade charms, and imagine condensation becoming evaporation. You don't want me to go back to the United States. You tell me this in English while also telling the bartender in Chinese that we need more drinks. We sure did need that. I can see myself being your traveling spouse out here in Shanghai if you would let that happen. But trust me, even in a secular land, the ghost still haunts my blood. I'm seeing visions of tomorrow right now. Visions of disease, visions of protest, visions of death back home, visions of being attacked by both legal observers and MAGA supporters alike because I am a Black man. When I left home, some people were still trying to weaponize the knee of someone I resembled in both hairstyle and complexion. I bet you those same people would see a knee as patriotic if it was used by their own to silence my own. It's dedicated to George Floyd and others. You asked me where did I go just now. Temperature has now dropped low enough to pierce my jacket as your warmth moves closer to me. You say it's rare for snow to land here in Shanghai as your cigarette smoke also falls atop the city of lights. I said nowhere really, I replied to you about where I went. I'm just wondering, where do we go from here? Appreciate y'all, much love.
Jeremy Green, that's with an E at the end. If you want to look up his TED Talk.
Oh, now
You're very welcome. You're welcome ahead of time. You're welcome ahead of time. It's a great one. Okay. I feel like you may be like a decent public speaker. I don't know.
You know what?
You done it once or twice?
A little bit. Pre-all blood in me.
The green is with the E.
So if you look up the transformative power of rejection, it's Jeremy D. Green, but he get the end. It's on TEDx. So yeah, appreciate you, Pete.
Hey, of course. Thank you so much. Speaking of the World Wide Web, if you look today on post.org, one of the poems of the day that's curated by Vanessa Angelica Villarreal is our next speaker. And that's Marcelo Hernandez Castillo. Yep, check him out, post.org. Marcelo Hernandez Castillo is the author of Children of the Land, a memoir. Sensontle, which is winner of the A. Poulin Jr. Prize from Bow Editions, and Dulce, which is winner of the Drinking Gourd Prize. He's a founding member of the Undocu Poets, which eliminated citizenship requirements from all poetry book prizes in the U.S. and was recognized with the Barnes & Noble Writers for Writers Award. I would love for him to speak about it if you'd like. You've heard about recent news about the Pulitzers getting rid of any sort of citizenship requirements. He has a huge part in doing that. Marcelo was the first undocumented student to graduate from the Helen Zell Writers Program at the University of Michigan and lives in Northern California, where he has served as the poet laureate of Yuba and Sutter counties. He currently teaches at St. Mary's College of California. Go Gales? Got the mascot right? Go Gales, and the Ashland University Low Res MFA program. How about a round of applause for Marcelo?
Can't go and ask because everybody's so great, and how do I follow that? How do I follow you all? I was saying earlier, I honestly don't know what to read. I usually have a good idea, but I've just been really blown away, and it's such a profound honor to be here and be able to read with you all. So I was trying to decide if I should read both for my book or new work, and I think I'm just going to read new work. It's an improvisation. It's a single poem, but I did read from different places every time, and it's a grid. I have a lot of guilt, and this manuscript has the word guilt somewhere in it. My mother was seeking asylum and was detained, and my younger brother was detained during COVID in an ICE detention center. And I feel guilty. Why them and not me? Or why me and not them? And anybody who I write about, I felt a lot of guilt. So this is just an exploration into that guilt and what happens in your head, at least my head, or someone else's when you write about others. This is a language necessary for anger, but not retaliation. I understand. I understand so much. My imagination that is monastic, as in its own silent mythology, a regret riddled and tame, a traffic in temporary consequence. Because the grant money will be over soon, it will be difficult to imagine, let alone speak about your freedom. I am qualified to talk about this. Trust me, I'm a specialist. My day apportioned to critical thinking. Lie. Lie about everything. Quantitative data presents the greatest form of knowledge and vehicle of rhetorical argument in the defense of your effective humanity. The committee extracts the meadow, not to finish, but to make the revolution irresistible. From here forth, you are to replace expensive with luminous. My lawyer is luminous. My phone call is luminous. Things will no longer be easy. From here forth, you are to replace easy with grateful. My shower is grateful. My days are grateful. My solitude is grateful. From here forth, you are to replace sorry with please. Please, trees. Please, judge. Please, kids. Sorry. Please. Sorry. I could just, notwithstanding, in the manufacturing of GPS ankle bracelets, the city is Denver. The city's EPP evaluation may extend to raw materials ethically sourced. Copper, silica, lithium, the mining of which is excluded in assessment, acquisition, energy consumption, and transport, packaging, recyclability, waste disposal into GPS tracking devices. This is a new green-oriented homeland security. Products to be biodegradable, efficient, use less water. Must repeat the suffering, to preserve the suffering. A noteworthy and pristine illusion and such. Nothing is interesting anymore. It's okay. I voted for Biden. You are valued for your productivity. The committee declares that what you are holding is less important than that you are there. There's a 34,000 immigrant detention bed mandate expected to be filled at all times. Not an inconvenience. This is not an ethnography, not a testimony, not a redemption story, not an epiphany, not a laundry list, not a proof to a theorem, a circus of inordinate objects. Somewhere it says forever and forever. I future your grief. I plant the seed and prosper, conditioned to think of bodies in prison, not people in prison, a poem person, not a person, to be legible. These methods that reduce anxieties and enable efficiency in a mass surveillance state, we are all internet stars. I look dutifully for your wound. The private for-profit corrections company GEO Group is publicly listed as a real estate investment trust, which has rewritten into the congressional record the corporate definition of land and ownership. The longest road, the minor estate, some kind of proper beauty, minor beauty. Dickinson said to make a prairie, it takes a clover and one bee. One clover, one bee, and reverie. Thank you.
How lucky are we tonight? Yeah. Our next and last poet tonight is one of the repeats. Maureen O'Leary, who's right in front of me here, will be here tomorrow night. Will be at the Natomas Library as well. I believe Nikolai Garcia, and as well as this next gentleman. Dante Clark is an actor, stage and film director, scriptwriter, lyricist, and public defense attorney consultant. All of Dante's work as an artist and community member is dedicated to shifting the narratives of Black/Aborigine people's history, while challenging educators and courtroom officials to abolish all racist policies. How about a round of applause for Dante Clark?
It's like sometimes when I listen to someone speak, especially like poetry, I have to close my eyes to picture it. So for the past like 3 hours, I haven't even been here. I've been all over the place. There's so many different images and pictures that just come to my mind. I can just hear the voice of the speaker, but I'm seeing what's being said flash. And I think that's what kind of helped me as a writer is when I first started writing, it was just very straightforward. Just tell you exactly what it is type thing. Or I thought. And then as I advance as a writer, I start trying to show you what it is without telling you less.
Yes.
Like you, from traveling so many different places in my mind, from listening, I'm like, I don't know what to share, what to read. Usually I practice and rehearse before I come do. I didn't do any of that. So I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we here though. But with that, I just feel compelled to share, I guess, it's my second poem that I ever wrote. First poem I wrote was a love poem. It was inspired from my friend who was writing poetry and my homegirl who felt like at the time I was writing rap lyrics. I was 17 and a lot of my rap lyrics was like more about the streets and where I come from. And it was kind of hard. She was like, you need to write about something else. And nobody want to hear all of that all of the time. So I was like, well, maybe I'll write a poem. And I didn't think that I could do it, but I was inspired by Tupac. I'm like, Tupac, write a poem. I can write a poem. And that's kind of when I saw that shirt, it made me think about that as well. Rose that group from Concrete. So like Tupac could write a poem, I could write a poem. So I wrote a love poem inspired by a young lady who I had a crush on, and that was that. This poem that I'm about to read, I don't remember that one. But for those who are wondering, I wrote the poem, gave it to her, and we dated. So it worked. So because of that, I was like, I'm gonna try to write another poem. And this poem was more serious. I wasn't trying to be. It was just one of those situations. I was observing somebody else who I felt like we had similar struggles, um, but they looked like they came from a totally different background than I did. And I was just trying to imagine the smile on his face, what he possibly could be going through in his head. I think I remember it. It's called How I Feel. If you ask me how I feel, I'll probably smile and tell you fine. And then you'll walk away satisfied, not knowing that I was lying. Not knowing that I was hiding behind this grin on my face with these evil thoughts running through my mind. Waking up every day wanting to get away, just thinking and wishing I wasn't alive. You see, I try to stay tough. I keep my head up but get fed up and ask why. The hell I go through so much, it seems like I'm feeling that life. Man, how or what I'm feeling at times is too difficult for me to describe. Let's just say it's a mixture of anger and hate, happiness, smiles and cries. Joy, frustration, self-esteem is my complication on why I can't succeed and be all that I can't be. Pursue the things we call dreams because I don't think that I have it in me. Sometimes I feel alone, no place to go to or call home. I steady going left and shit I can't get right, or I sit static like I ain't got no backbone. Man, I love the thought of peace and quiet, but at times could act a beast, I'm violent. Because all of the emotions that runs through me gets my temperature rising. I done held so much in, it gets to a point that I explode when I realize how I feel, you ask? Me, I'm just fine. But I only said that to see if you really cared enough to read between the lines and all the signs that shows when a person is hurt inside. But then again, you probably knew about me and kept on with your life. Never thought about me twice. From that point, I felt good as a 17-year-old, messing up in school, high school. All of my mentors and stuff said to me, I don't want to go to college. What is Dante going to do? We're worried about Dante. Some poetry became my way of expressing myself. Once I expressed that, it was like, wow, we didn't know we were dealing with that. And I'm just like, I come from Richmond, California. Yeah. North Richmond, California. During this time, 2004 to 2007, it's like considered the murder capital of the United States. State of emergency. It's a lot going on within this small community. And they didn't know what I was doing. For real. And I was like, wow. So poetry let me know that sometimes your actions or you telling somebody you don't feel like doing something is not enough. But you can say the same thing in a poem and then you see. So I learned then that if you know how to process your emotions and put it into some words and just call it a poem, even if it's not, people will receive it differently. Same thing with comedy. You can tell the truth and laugh about it, but if you said it and you didn't laugh, people would be offended. But if you look, it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Guess I'm gonna play. What I can say about my writing is I write individually. I might write a poem and then I may stop right here. But the next poem that I write, probably like 6 months from now, I see like they're communicating with each other. Yeah. So oftentimes when I go to perform, instead of just introducing poems, I usually don't even do this, but I feel like everybody else gets some context and slow down the pacing of it. Usually I just go rapid fire for 10 minutes. I'm gonna just slow it down. So what I do is I connect poems that usually I don't feel like really is connected, but once I do them together, it seems to just sound like one piece. So I might jump into that a little bit. Lions and lambs gather around the porch like near the praying man to hear his banana clip theory. in hopes to keep the devil off before being buried in gold and joining the Vanilla Sky Club. He said, we hastened through the fires the South sent after our feet, unintentionally carried the flames of Mississippi burnings with us on our exodus trail of tears up north and westbound, covered by the ash of Jim Crow, with the smudge of smoke seeping deep into our lungs, crawling through our veins, or hardening its thick coat onto our blood, leaving our children to be birthed with the mark that's profitable when persecuted. He said, we be the prophecy that the Bible speaks of, how in the silence of the lambs, there is a ghost that walks through the tall grass during the keeping hours, and every time I die beneath the leaves, the legacy of the bones rebirth between worlds. So I imagine, if pain was a person, it'd be from the projects of my birthplace, where fed babies walk headstrong with secret scars under black feet near demons with cold shoulders and no chill, holding on to switches and drakes on a purge for days and nights with no prayers, no features, no dealings with real love over thoughts for hurting more than yesterday, whose image is nonchalant, with a pistol by the bed under the influence of 28 bars going word for word of a 7-Eleven in a brain-dead jungle. And when truth be told, if federal pressure clears this air, this reckless mind frame will be blind and relentless again and again and again and again. So peace in my heart is wrapped in Egyptian cloth, buried beneath the pavement of cocaine-paved corners where 1,000 corpses fly like dead flowers and family secrets at a fish fry. Sitting parallel parked at front lines of bricks and murals and 50 seats, counting 30 shell cases and black spoons compiled at the Reaganomics and left scattered brains on a Basquiat, reaping an aftermath of a juvenile hellhole when our beloveds are left in slapbox with bullet holes in their throats, when red beams are highly praised like we ain't the sons of kings, like we ain't sons, like we ain't kings. Like we ain't the son to king. So mama told me always keep a machete. Cause ain't no take backs from the grave when the fire be kicking tree limbs at the liquor store. No, you got to be a blue moon on a swivel. Or in these fields, you'll become the new Negro spiritual and life sings me sweet songs. I would love to dance, but I'm afraid of my feet. It's like piece of me is trying to piece together a piece of mind. Like whatever peace of mind I find is fine, you know. That's by design what I find will provide me a peace of mind. See, peace of mind is peace of mind. My mind want peace of mind to come back, way back before this trap black. This piece of my mind been outlined in black, the darkest hue of the pack black, that dirt yield in the thirst field. Work first before the feed off your scratch like life. Ooh, sing me sweet songs. I would love to dance, but I'm a walking prayer, Negro spiritual. Cry from a broken heart that bleeds obsidian. Trying not to be a cup of bitter sip on bed table, absent of soul food in the kitchen out of reach from grandma's hands in some tract house, section 8 miles away from life that's living. No, I would rather empty out, be baptized in honey and drip for eternity, for eternity, for 4 eternities, when life sings me sweet songs. I would love to dance, but I was born pissed without a pot to piss in. Raised down the poverty street over who makes us opposition. Losing common sense to bottomless pockets. Picking and picking fish is probably one profit as poor people will it. Nah, not in America. We chop the children smiling cavities. The goose chasing underground railroads to safe havens of heaven. The white man's dreams fall from a 4th of July sky, all while we still catching hell. Hell. This a freeway exit away. Flow straight, blow through the light, break 2 lefts and to the right, you'll be there. Hell. You'll see hella people, hella high, hoping like hell to spread wings above telephone wires and shoestrings. Past shoeless Jimmy them, puffy eye leaning back to a time where I dream about. A hell of a winter these last 60 years, man. Still ain't figured it where I'm at is hella hot or cold as hell. Hell. All I know is these bullets burn. There's some cold young brothers shooting. Life sings me sweet song. I would love to dance, but I'm thinking of thoughts that trauma teachers are thinking. They trying to train those of us, thinking the thoughts that trauma teachers are thinking. They trying to train those of us as thoroughbred to talk tersely and timid, to teeter till teeter, and teaches us to traipse to the third trace of Tyler, to be tripping, tumbling 10,000 times to we're tossed over to the tangle of taunting tales that's told to us by their tenacious taboos. The tragic traffic that trackless, the torture that's tattooed in the thrusting trials, trekking with tribulations, always there to twist and touch the torsos of the talented 10, the targeted, the 10 toes of the toughest teenagers traumatized by the tactics that the tyrannical task force used to tame us by torch. They're attempting to tear through our time, while there be too many teachers, leaving the temples, taken to the temples be tilted, tired of tithing. This peace be tipped to them, to the tongue-tied, tied ticks that's tricking the people. The trick, trample, travel out their treasures, trash to the totality of the treacherous terror domes, the Texas territory that the thugs tend to, but there be telephones that televise the tirade of toxic tears. Ooh, that's truism. The thinking, the thoughts that trauma teaches the thinking. How we go through total turmoil just to tell our tribal testimonies through telephones. 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 Ring, ring, the boogeyman. Tell him I got a song. String that ghetto bird. His grave can sing along. I guess I can give something, but I feel like it's very self-explanatory. It's a two-part poem. Pistol play. Driving 2 hours south to the countryside of California. Beneath the morning clouds, I'm standing in the rain and red mud with the white man at the back of his truck, helping him unload his box of pistols and rifles and bullets for a day of shooting targets. The metal discharge and fire projectile through the flesh of blue paper. The gun smoke and wet rocks catch the wind. You know, I started to record my pistol play. I say, nah. Nobody needs to see that I've been out here shooting. Because if it ever comes a time for me to be shooting, whoever I'm shooting at gonna know for sure that I'm pretty good at shooting. But after a full day of pistol play and driving back to where phones get service, you are alerted to the buzz and vibration of missed messages and voicemails. You skim through the names as you drive and wonder why so many calls. You make a mental note to call back later, then the calls come ringing again. And some calls be back to back too many from some names who don't call often too much anyway, so you answer. And sometimes on this type of call, it be your sister who be calling to tell you about that thing again. You know, that thing about somebody killing somebody else in Richmond, and have you heard? Only this time that somebody else is that somebody you love who somebody just killed. So you cry with too much roll back home before you, with the type of music that puts you in all of the feelings for not having no feelings about killing, and your mind is turning like the speeding tires you speed with, and your hands are remembering it's full day of pistol play. And you say to yourself, damn, this song hit different. When life sings me sweet songs, I would love to dance, but I'm afraid of my feet. I think I'm gonna stop there.
I think I forgot how to talk. What do you possibly say after that lineup? I mean, just hit after hit after hit after hit. Thank you so much, everyone, for covering. We're talking about trying to cover California. We tried to get that Central Coast, Central Valley, Fresno area. Got a little bit of that representation tomorrow night. But so cool to have people from Richmond, Oakland, Los Angeles, Sacramento, all of the above. California is alive and well. So thank you so much to everybody for your time. Thank you.